Alright everyone, and we're back. I don't quite understand why Tosaka would get mad at that.
遠坂、誤解を招くって何を招くってんだ。
今のは失言なの。聞くなって態度で表してるんだから、追求するのはルール違反よ。
It seems Tosaka knows a rule I don't know about.
呆れた。これじゃセイバーも大変だわ。まあ、それともあんたたちはそれでちょうどいいのかもね。少しぐらい麻痺してないと、あなたもセイバーもダメなのかもしんないし。
よくわからないけど、そのセイバーが大変だってのは聞き捨てならないぞ。なんだってセイバーが大変なんだよ、遠坂。
だからあんたのそういうところが大変だって言ってるの。その分じゃセイバーの変化になんて気がついてないんでしょ、エミヤくんは。
セイバーの変化？
That's not a change on the outside, is it? If anything has changed about Saber, it's...
ああ、そういえば朝から様子が変だったな。
Well, I
いや、
think she...
イリアがいたから不機嫌だったとは思うんだけど、それにしたって黙って正座してるわ。どうしたんだって聞けば夢を見たとか言って立ち去っちまうし。
I thought that was something I had to read, and it was still continuing a dialogue. I forgot about it since I was busy with Ilya. Come to think of it, Saber was acting weird, like she was half asleep or something.
セイバーが夢を見た？
何？それって驚くところか、遠坂。
Oh, she's ignoring me.
おい、黙ってないで何か言ってくれ。そんな顔されるとこっちまで不安になってくる。
ああ、別にそんな大したことじゃないわ。単にサーバントは夢を見ないってだけだから。
Servants don't dream.
そうよ、サーバントは夢なんて見ないわ。それでも見たって言うんなら、それは夢じゃない。単に誰かの記憶を垣間見ただけの話よ。
Tosaka must have had the same experience. She says so with a coldness totally different from her earlier cheerfulness. That means she saw Archer's dream then, or Archer's memories. And so, it's time to prepare dinner. All the things that happened in the past few days must have destroyed the cooking rotation.
今日の夕食お願いね。今夜もまた冷えそうだし、イリアもいるし、シチューとかいいんじゃない？
But she tells me that as she leaves.
まあ確かにイリアはシチューってイメージだけどな。
Maybe because of how she looks with the coat and the hat? Anyways, I have no objections to making stew for dinner. I'm not that good at making Western food, but I shouldn't make any terrible mistakes with stew.
と、その前に。
It's a bit before 6. There's still a bit of time until I need to start cooking. I'm sweaty, so I should take a bath. It's a bit of a hassle to take a bath before dinner, but since Tosaka and Saber take their baths after, I'm forced to take it late. The hallway's cold. The room is warm because of the heater, but I can feel the winter cold as soon as I emerge into the hallway. It seems that even though the weather should be warm, it's been a bit screwed up these past couple days. Few days. Speaking of cold, I heard that it snowed. I didn't notice probably because it lasted less than an hour and there wasn't much. Well, if it did pile up, the yard would be full of a snowman army and I'd have to clean it up afterwards, so you could say I'm glad. Of course, only one person would build a snowman army. The day it snowed last year, I remember her standing in front of a class with hands red from frostbite. I was gonna take a shower, but the bathroom's quite hot already.
シロ、
The sound of water. as soon as my gaze moves to the bathtub. My head goes wider than the steam. I can't talk right since my throat is numb. I can't move my body because I can't think. But still, somewhere in my head, I think that something like this happened before. No, it's not the same as before. Saber was bearing her skin last time, but I was fully clothed. But this time, it's completely different.
Saber.
My gasp echoes through the air. Saber watches as I stand there dumbfounded. Saber will get mad this time. Surely she'll get mad. She'll definitely get mad. As proof, her soft lips are trembling as if they will yell in the next moment.
すまん、悪かった。シャワーを使おうと思って、いや、こんな時間に誰か入っているとは思っていなかったんだけど、普通気がつくだろう、そんなことって言われるのはもっともなんだが。
Well, who could have saw this coming? I give my excuses while backing up towards the dressing room. It's not like I'm fascinated by Saber. It just feels like Saber will get madder if I run back to the dressing room. But in either case, I can't take my eyes off of her. I remember that night at the ruins. I recalled the warmth of Saber, who was so close to me. Saber's body was frail and delicate. We shared our warmth and heartbeats. It wasn't the time for this back then. But now all of it makes me feel something that's hard to resist.
とにかく話は後で。
I reach behind me, searching for the door. Then,
申し訳ありません、シロ。その勝手な申し出なのですが、今は席を外してもらえないでしょうか。
Saber asks in a faint voice as she averts her gaze. That really blanks my mind. Why Saber won't get mad? Her embarrassed face makes all the blood go to my head.
なんて。
Bone of my sword, maybe? I murmured by reflex. Saber hangs her head even more in apology.
ですから、シャワーを使うのはもう少し後にしてください。この場を一人で使うことを今だけは許してほしい。
Saber curls up as if hiding her body. That suddenly makes me remember. When I met Saber in the dressing room last time, she didn't say anything. The sex of a servant is of no concern. She was the one who said that with no concern for her appearance.
つまり、待て、頭がぐるぐるしててうまく言えないんだが。
Come on, work!
要するに、セイバー、怒ってないのか？
シローが体を洗うのは当然でしょう。私はそこまでマスターの行動を制限しません。
I understand. In other words, Saber thinks nothing of her appearance or whether or not she's clothed. So it's only natural that I'm here. As the bath is a place to wash her body, it's natural for me to be here. Saber being here also is of no concern. That's, helpful, but I also think it's wrong.
けど、なら、今俺がシャワーを使ってもいいってことになるんだけど。
ですから、それは
Saber hangs her head in embarrassment.
見られることは問題ではないのです。ただ、私の体は凛のように少女のものではありません。ですから。
Saber blushes even more and finishes with difficulty.
シローにはあまり見てほしくない。このように筋肉のついた体では殿方には見苦しいでしょう。
She says that. I almost faint for a bunch of different reasons.
バカ、そんなこと。
If I finish, I'm sure I'll go crazy. Saber's body is not unsightly. She claims her body's rugged, but I was never worried about that. Of course her body's trained compared to Tosaka's, but still, I think Saber's body is really feminine.
シロー、そういう理由だから一人にしてほしいのですが。
I don't know how I answered. All I can remember is that I nodded and shut the door. And so the day ends. Dinner was exciting. Ilya spoke more and more at each meal today, and she had a weird relationship with Tosaka where I couldn't tell whether they were friendly or fighting. Saber's more approving of Ilya, but she must not have let her guard down as she frowns every time Ilya comes near me. The past few days were too wild. A normal day like this is unsettling for me. I go out to the yard quietly. It's a bit before midnight. Under the cold moonlight, I walk, leaving traces of white breath behind me. And before I realize it, I'm doing my daily routine. I'm being taught by Tosaka, so there's no need for me to train here now. But still, I sit on the cold ground and check the thing within me. It's not that I feel uneasy about my skills. This is just a jinx. I've been doing this for years now, so it just doesn't feel right unless I finish my day here.
トレース。お
But today's training is more heated up than usual. Tosaka told me not to use it, but I can't obediently agree with her. If I can make this projection thing mine, it'll be a powerful weapon and I'll be able to help Saber better. Besides, I still have that heat in my body. The night at the ruin, the battle in the forest filled with morning mist, the golden sword I made. The remaining heat is still in my hands and my heart wishes it to start burning again when I try.
想像理ね。鑑定。
Reproducing it is easy. My mind was jumbled up back then because I was desperate, but I can perform only the steps I need now. No. From the beginning, there was only one to guide Emiyashiro. The pronunciation is the same. Just change the cell's recognition and it will become an original spell.
基本骨子。想定。
I understand how dangerous it is without needing for Tosaka to tell me. As a magus, Emiyashiro must not associate himself with projection. It's something that's beyond me. A venture beyond one's capabilities will eventually be paid for by death.
鑑定終了。これ即無なり。
I erased the blueprint I was drawing. On the other side of the door, as if hiding the blue moon, Saber approaches.
よかった。ここにいたのですね、シロ。姿が見えないので何かあったのかと。
ん？いや、別に何があったわけじゃない。寝つけないから頭の体操をしていただけだ。一通りこなしたら部屋に戻るから心配はいらない。
そうですか。ならいいのですが。
Saying so, she looks at me. It's impossible to hide as my face is all sweaty as always.
ああ、これもいつものことだから気にしないでくれ。魔術の練習なんて魔術師として当然のたしなみだろ。
Sure, but maybe not the kind of training you're doing currently.
いや、まあ半人前なんで失敗はつきものなんだけど。
I wiped the sweat off my forehead.
Oh.
I'm surprised. The sweat I wiped off is ice cold. I thought it was cold, but was it this cold in the shed?
シロ、一日も欠かさずそれを。
いや、まあできる限りは。親父に言われた日課だし、これぐらいはやらないと。
Replying, I regret that I'm bluffing. That this is my daily routine. I wanted to boast to Saber by saying that. The training at the end of the day is certainly no trouble for me. But it was never easy for me either. Saber doesn't say anything. Behind her is the moon. Slanting rays of light enters the shed, covered in blue darkness. This is like a reproduction of the night I met her.
セイバー、遠坂が言ってたことなんだけど。
As soon as I think this is like watching a dream.
サーバントは夢を見ないっていうのは本当なのか？
Without realizing, I ask her that question.
ええ、私たちは夢を見ない。もともと幽体であるサーバントは眠りません。私は幽体化ができないため眠らざるを得ませんが、それでも夢を見れません。
でも朝は見たって。
she saw into Shiro's memories. A small silence. She closes her eyes once and looks at me with a gentle face as if she's determined.
私が見たものはあなたの夢です、シロ。マスターとサーバントは精神的にもつながっている。結びつきが強くなれば相手の過去を垣間見ることもあるでしょう。
夢に見たって俺の過去か。
はい。あなたの心に踏み入る行為だとは分かっていたのですが、私には拒むことができなかった。それをどうか許してください、シロ。
That goes for me as well. Saber's past. I've seen the days before she became a servant many times.
バカ、そんなのセイバーのせいじゃないだろう。夢に見ちまうなら仕方がないじゃないか。それに謝るのはこっちの方だ。俺の昔なんてつまんないことばかりだろ。そんなもん見せられたらおちおち眠ってられやしない。
いえ、夢を見たのは今朝だけです。それも最近のことではありませんから、シロの男性としてのプライベートを侵害するようなことは決してありません。
Saber comments honestly. But private? Well, I've done ordinary stupid things, but...
それは助かるけど、最近のことじゃないって、じゃあいつ頃のことなんだ。
大きな火事でした。私が見たものはその光景だけです。
Oh, the day he met Kiritsugu. A quiet voice. Her gentle eyes tell me what she saw. The beginning of everything. I see. So she dreamt about that.
そうか。それはなんていうか。
Should I say unfortunate? It's like going to a movie theater to go see a movie you know, but going into the wrong theater and seeing something completely different.
それで分かりました。いいえ、前から思ってはいたのです。あなたにはひどく危ういところがあると。
危ういところってなんだよ。そりゃセイバーから見れば至るところは危なげだろうけど。
そんな意味ではありません。あなたは、シローは私と似ています。だからあなたの間違いもわかる。このまま進めばどうなってしまうかも同じだから分かってしまう。
いや、間違ってなんかないけどな。そりゃ失敗は数えきれないけど、俺は親父みたいな正義の味方になるんだ。間違ったことなんてできないだろう。
Almost messed up again.
だからそれが間違いなのです。シロ、あの事故はあなたのせいでもないし、その責任はあなたが負うべきものでもない。あなたには償うべきものなどないのです。
Of course. It was only an accident and I was only a victim. Well, certainly there have been times when I felt guilty about being the only survivor, but...
以前リンが言っていました。シローの自己犠牲と献身ぶりは異常だと。それは私も同感です。あなたは自らの命を代価として人を助けようとするのではない。あなたは単に初めから自分の命が感情に入っていないのではないですか。
Did my pupils open wide? Somehow, I cannot see Saber's face clearly.
あの事故を忘れることはあなたにはできないでしょう。ですが、覚えている限りシローは変わらない。それは苦しいのではないですか。
苦しい？俺が？
Well, of course it's painful. Saber doesn't need to tell me that. It's only natural. So many people died and it was such a hell. I think it's only natural for it to be painful. And besides, if it weren't, it might all be meaningless.
確かにこうして思い出すと辛い。けどそれは終わったことだ。今さらどうにかできることじゃないだろう。
Saber doesn't answer. She scratches her arm, irritated.
私は聖杯を手に入れなければならない。けれど、それはシローにも当てはまる。
セイバ
シローには聖杯が必要だ。私があなたに呼び出されたのは必然だったのです、マスター。
How can I answer that?
先に眠ります。シローもあまり無茶はしないように。
Saber leaves. I cross my arms and ponder. Do I need the Holy Grail? The Grail that grants the wishes of its possessor? A vessel which contains unlimited amounts of magical energy for which it is said nothing is impossible? If I had such a thing, my wish would certainly be easily granted, but...
いや違う。どう考えても聖杯なんていらないぞ、俺。
Yeah, I definitely don't need it. Because I don't have any wishes that won't come true or that are impossible. Because if it's a dream, I can't reach by myself. I won't even dream in the first place. The night thickens. With only the moonlight, I listen to the distant wind in the familiar shed. Oh, 13. Infinity Arms. A red hill covered in corpses in a gray sky. The heavy clouds drifting away announced the end of the battle. I know this scene. This is a scene I've seen many times already. This is one of the battles Saber experienced. These are the remains of a battleground so familiar to her as she is always victorious. After this, she will return to her castle. The people will celebrate her victory, and they will prepare for the next battle. This is her everyday life. This is but one of the 12 great battles she has gone through. That's why she does not bear any memories of the victory, but merely accepts it calmly. Think about such random things. That is not a dream. Just a cold truth that cannot be changed. From the moment she drew the sword from the stone, she was not human. After becoming a feudal lord like her father, she became a king with many knights. She was called King Arthur, or Arthuria, and the girl who had tried to become a knight had her life turned around. No, it is more correct to say that it ended. At that instant, the girl with childlike features disappeared and only the existence permitted was that of a king of knights. She acted as the son of the king. That's because the one to govern many territories and control the knights had to be male. The only ones who knew that the king was just a girl were her father and the magus. She literally covered herself in steel and sealed that truth for all her life. Why didn't I realize what that meant? Someone placed before everyone managed to keep her identity a secret. I don't know what suffering she went through as I'm only watching from a distance. Time passes. These must be her memories of the 10 years she spent as king. There's only one thing common to all of them. Even on the throne. Even in the hallway. Even on the battlefield. No one talked to her. Even the loud round table filled with the knights' tales of bravado falls silent when the king steps in. So that's what it means. She was only idolized. Many knights looked down on Arturia, who looked like a small kid, and they did not approve of swearing their sword to her. But because she drew out the sword that they could not, they had to obey her, at least in form. They just accepted the disgrace, believing that it would pass. Even if she drew the sword, she is just a child. Even with Merlin's help, she will fail soon enough. When that happens, they need to only take the holy sword away from her and reselect the king. That's what most of the knights thought. But the results were different. The knight that just entered adulthood was king without flaw. She brought peace to the fighting lords and immediately fought off the invading enemies. Of course, it wasn't because of the power of the Holy Sword. The Holy Sword only protects the king. It's the king's power that protects the country. And in that way, she supposed the knight's results. The protection of the Holy Sword works only against enemy swords. It does not help rule over people's hearts. She worked hard to be an ideal king, and so the knights had to follow their king. They suppressed their dissatisfaction with the young king as they saw he was perfect. She tried to be an ideal king. Being an ideal king was the condition of their support. However, there was no room for the human Arthuria. The girl determined to be king, a great knight who pulled out the holy sword, who did not age from that moment on, and one who won 12 great battles. The more perfect she was, the more people kept away from her. The longer she stayed that way, the more isolated she became. That was her true identity. But she still did well. No, she did too well. She defeated her enemies efficiently and minimized the victims in battle. No matter what kind of war it is, a battle will have victims. So she believed she should make sacrifices before the war to prepare the army and to defeat the enemy efficiently. She would exhaust one village to prepare the army, defeat the invaders before they could damage the land, and save 10 villages. That was the solution she came up with as a king. And in truth, it was the best policy. But the knights must have been unhappy. For them, only the invader should die. It was only proper to win without allowing such victims. There's no need to sacrifice one's own territory before a battle. We will win, so there will not be any victims. There will not be any victims, so the king's actions are fruitless. That's what they thought. Of course, that was just a fantasy. Once the battle began, the knights did not think about the small villages. It was only unnatural for them to trample over them as well. As the small villages are not what they seek to protect. The knights say it's only natural to be destroyed by the invaders, but it is a great sin to destroy them with our own hands. Of course she knew that. But a king cannot allow her personal feelings to affect her decisions. She kills her emotions to make a decision, and the knights suppress their personal feelings to obey. And after many sacrifices and continuing victories, the country became stable. The price of what was a revolt against the king. King Arthur does not understand human beings. One knight said so and left the castle. It's a ridiculous story. Nobody wanted her to be human, but they revolted against her because she didn't have human feelings? The Age of Chaos continues. The knights who had been dissatisfied with the king for some time became more dissatisfied after that one knight left. They pushed all problems onto her and cornered her. Ruin was in sight. Death if she could not solve all the problems. Even if she did solve them, the result would be the same. But such trivial things are of no concern to a king. Her mind will not change even if she is abandoned, feared, or betrayed. Probably because she had her mind made up long before. She abandoned her emotions from the moment she decided to pull out the sword. As seen from a few years before. Knights from all over the country gathered to try and pull out the sword in the stone. But nobody could pull it out, and the knights were desperate to choose the most superior king by competing jousting skills. The knights went to the arena and forgot about the sword. It felt much like watching a festival from a distance. In the distance are the brave sounds of the cavalry. The roars of the knights are far away and there is no one around the stone. What did the girl think before that? Before she realized it, an unknown magus was standing behind her.
それを手に取る前にきちんと考えた方がいい。
He says he's not trying to frighten her, but that she should stop.
それを手にしたが最後、君は人間ではなくなるよ。
He also said that she would be resented by all humanity and die a miserable death. She could not have been without fear.